Networks Media since its inception, and how it has evolved as a full-service independent agency, especially in today's landscape, advertising landscape.
Interesting. Can you speak about the initial days and then maybe I'll pick up post-COVID?
Alright. So, I think it's something that we really enjoy. Shrenik and I know each other from our MBA, right? And then one fine day, Shrenik called me and kind of told me like, this is what I want to do, and I know how much you love advertising and media, and do you want to kind of be a part of it? And then the question was like, okay, let's kind of go ahead. That was the initial conversation between Shrenik and me. But I think the fact that why we started it was that we felt that it was a different world that time, right? Back in 2000s, essentially the time was completely different. Social was still coming to the forefront, right? And we felt that what brands require and what we saw that was being currently delivered, we felt that there is a space for us to exist there and kind of fulfill the need and requirement. That's actually how we started. We were very fortunate in our early years to kind of work with clients that believed in us. I remember one of the first bigger clients, Redbus, kind of actually simply gave us the account as their first agency.
Yeah.
On just a pure word from Shrenik and me, where we said that we've seen the platform, we've seen what are the issues on the social, and we really believe we can help you. And then we suddenly get a call from their CXOs, and they tell us that, hey, we've never had an agency, but are you guys sure you can do this? We said, yes, we can do this, right? And that's how they just got us on board.
Yeah.
So it was on that pure grit and belief that, okay, we heard you and you're passionate and you know what you want to do, and let's kind of go ahead with it. From there, I think it was from strength to strength. We kind of looked at categories, we looked at brands, we strive to kind of do something that we call creative effectiveness, where we use creativity to kind of move the effectiveness needle essentially for clients. And that was happening, and I think we were on a very good journey, and then COVID happened essentially.
Correct.
Right, and I think
So I think every organization, right, has various stages. Right. So metaphorically, it's 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, and beyond. Right. So our 0 to 1 was from a 2012 to 2015. Right. Why 0 to 1 is we were setting up. We were having our initial set of rock stars team. We onboarded our initial set of clients. We were learning the business. It was our first entrepreneurship, so we were learning entrepreneurship. Right. Our 1 to 10 was from a 2014-15 to a 2018-19. That is when we kind of grew a little bit. We kind of reached about 80-100 people mark. Some of our work started being noticed. We started winning our initial set of awards, initial set of bigger clients. Right, so a lot of those things started coming in up to then. And so we're growing decent till then. And then from 2019 onwards, I think the real rocket ship has started. That is technically, that is metaphorically what I call a 10 to 100 jump. Right? Pure number-wise, if I have to tell, we were about 80-ish people back then. 80-ish jumped to about on touching 500 now. Right? So that jump has happened in the last few years. So yes, that's journey in a nutshell, as you asked.
Okay, so being an independent agency, midst of this, all the network agencies can be very challenging. So what unique approach does WRM bring to the table, to kind of thrive, thrive in the industry?
Correct. So I think one thing which we believe we do well, and we hope to keep learning in it is we love to hack subcultures, right? Now why subcultures is because subcultures define conversations.
Right.
Conversations leads to conversions, right? So subculture is, I think, a great gateway to ROI, right? And I think subculture is a domain we love to work in, right? Now what are some subcultures we work in, right? So India has a few subcultures which are pretty spoken about. Right. If you think of a subculture, if you believe one resonates to a subculture, I think they can strike a conversation with anyone else who belongs to that subculture. Right. So few subcultures which we love to thrive in. Let me first speak about some subcultures which are there in India. sectors: cricket, Bollywood, religion, politics, stocks, FMCG and startups. राइट तो आप देखोगे तो आप कोई भी एक सब कल्चर में फिट हो रहे हैं ना, तो आप वो सब कल्चर के किसी के साथ भी बात कर सकते हैं, राइट. सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द टॉप सब कल्चर्स, राइट. नाउ वी ऑफ कोर्स डिडंट वांट टू do a lot of work in politics and religion for obvious reasons, so we kind of focus on the other four. Now if you zoom out each one of them, that becomes our focus category, right? So if you zoom out cricket, it becomes sports. If you zoom out Bollywood, it becomes media and entertainment. If you zoom out stocks, it becomes BFSI, and of course FMCG and startups. So that's how our core categorization has been in subcultures, which is a very unique approach to looking at clients and growth.
I think also if you add to it an understanding that what makes us different is, I mean, you don't set out to go and be different, but I believe what we are is we are up with the times, right? We understand that the media landscape has changed fundamentally. As we spoke, it's fragmented, there are new options, you really need to catch attention, and you need to have a tactical and a strategic approach, both running side by side. I think that's something that how we kind of use our work, and that's something that we've taken our time to grow. So, I believe that, and then the biggest driver is, I think, the kind of a culture that we've created at WRM, and that makes a lot of difference from our narrative, from our internal narrative. That is the biggest differentiator essentially.
So, capital Z sounds quite intriguing. So, could you provide some more insights into this new offering?
Yeah.
And how it helps help brands in with Gen Z?
Right. So, I'll tell you what happened is essentially.
Mitesh is our poster boy for Gen Z. So that's a Mitesh question.
No, not Gen Z, but yeah, right. See,
we all aspire to think and be like Gen Z. So.
Most interesting generation we've seen. Right? So, what has happened is, if you come to understand that Gen Z now contribute to close to 30% of the working population of the country, right? So that's a big chunk, which means that they should be as a subset seen differently. However, all the decision makers and CXOs, we are all millennials, right? Which means that which was okay when a generation shift was happening from a millennial to millennial generation shift, but because Gen Z seems to be very fundamentally different, it is needed for CMOs and CXOs to understand this set of audiences differently. Now, for you to do that, there currently is no data set or data point or a think tank to kind of guide you in a way towards understanding them and understanding their digital lives. Right, so we ourselves researched data, and we said, yeah, there's only international data, there is no national data essentially around it, and we said, okay, this is a problem, right, and this is an opportunity. We already have a very strong research and planning kind of a setup at WRM, which we kind of redirected it to kind of understand this generation of Gen Z. Now today we've reached a space, I mean, we told you about, we just launched the first report under Capital Z. Now, Capital Z is an arm which is going to work with brands essentially and help them bifurcate through research and digital understandings their potential audience, their lifestyle choices, data sets, and also how does this audience view their brands. So if you're a CMO of an X organization and you want to understand that how does Gen Z looks at my brand, right? Even that is a kind of a solution set that we are creating, and then marry it with our core offerings, which are into digital and social outreaches completely, right? So then you have a more strategic layout of communication to reach out to this audience. So that is how Capital Z actually comes into the picture.
Also, high time CXOs, entrepreneurs realize that Gen Z is a significant contributor / influencer to decision making in households in India, right? A Gen Z is also a 26-year-old now, right? A 26-year-old in all probability would have changed 2 jobs, right? Has decent money in the bank, has a lot more information than the peers, right? So essentially, this is a generation which can influence with information, right? So if you can influence with information, that means you're being heard. Also, these guys are a media channel themselves, each one of their digital presence. right? So they have greater power of amplification, right? So I think brands should unlearn a lot of things which they've learned in terms of marketing to a millennial and start curating for Gen Z. And that was core fundamental on why we started a Gen Z lab, because a lot of learnings which we got a few years back shocked us, right? And we realized that if we, in spite of being so connected with the marketing universe, if we are being shocked, I'm sure that in all probability would be a situation with many others. So that's how we started it.
Okay, great. So, WRM's portfolio seems very diverse, ranging from sports marketing, as you mentioned, movie marketing, and even reality shows. So, how does your team manage to excel in such varied verticals, and what unique approach do you bring to the table?
I think, see, one of the core fundamentals should always be that is there a learning, briefing, debriefing process that allows you to create a certain subset in your teams which are more specialized across certain verticals, right? I mean, today we operate in entertainment from a very good standpoint, and we obviously are doing the same now in the FMCG and the BFSI categories and other categories, right? I think it comes on the back of obviously creating a culture, then kind of empowering your teams to learn more, taking the information and kind of putting it across to every relevant stakeholder, essentially to kind of get more knowledge, right? And then I think the key that we've been able to implement is we have been successfully been able to bring the learnings of different verticals, which is like cross-vertical learnings, and implement in these verticals. So if you want to keep doing marketing and entertainment how it was done for years, then you're not bringing anything new essentially to the table, right? But if you have learning from a BFSI, if you have learning from Gen Z, if you have a learning from housewives sitting in UP and Bihar, and then you bring that learning and say, you know what, this is how we can use this to kind of market this whole next big blockbuster that's possibly going to be there, right? Then you have a mindset which is different. I think that's something that has contributed a long way towards our success.
Yeah. Also, I think it's, for lack of a better word, I would say it's thrilling to market. One of the most formal B2B brand. We have a brand which is listed on Naskar, which is super B2B in nature, which have their very, very, very strict guardrails.
Which is actually India's biggest brand by a lot of indexes.
Correct. All the way on the other spectrum to a Shah Rukh Khan movie, where we can innovate, where we can create, where we can have a lot of fun, to going another spectrum where we can market a Christopher Nolan movie, which we just did, right? Where there are certain set of guidelines, there is a certain set of fun, and you do a good mix of both. So it's thrilling, right? You wake up one day and you would do B2B marketing for a brand which is there globally, to marketing in Hollywood's most loved movie, to marketing Bollywood's most awaited movie, to marketing some of the favorite startups, funded startups, which are a part of daily life of people. So yeah, it's good fun.
It's really great. So now coming to reality shows, the digital campaign for Shark Tank's India debut in India was a game changer, and it became popular in no time. So what were the key elements of this campaign, that contributed to the overwhelming success?
Interesting question. So I think the idea was to be real, right? There were entrepreneurs right up there, right? Entrepreneurs who could connect very well, entrepreneurs who had a certain cult following before as well, right? How do we take that, amplify it, and get the right messaging out, right, for the show? The show has been a super success across the world, but the first season of the show generally is not as successful as it was in India, right? So how do we understand that? How do we marry it with the popular culture of memes? How do we marry it with the right set of content which is reliable, and how do we curate stories in which entrepreneurs can be treated like celebrities, right? And how the what happened as a clear result of all of these things was entrepreneurship became a dinner table conversation, So that's what we do.
So Mitesh, you want to add to it?
I think Shrenik covered it, but I think one of the things was to kind of go back to our childhoods, right? Some of us come from business family, like I think Shrenik's dad is a professional, so he's also been exposed to this business family conversation quite a lot. Understand the stigmas that you've seen your parents going through when they were running their business.
But they were planning to start running their business.
Right? And also, I think while we were digging these insights, one of the key things, even our client kind of navigated us into this direction was, let's create content for complete Bharat. Right? I remember one of the conversation line was, can we target a 40-year-old housewife in Darbhanga, in a UP and Bihar and a Jharkhand state, and create content that she can understand and she would be fascinated that I want to kind of catch the show, right? And that really struck this lightning in our heads here. That's true, right? It's far more easier to communicate the idea of Shark Tank to a metro audience. They've been exposed to Shark Tank here and there, right? But if you could go to that audience, right, and can help them understand, then is when your pan-India movement starts, right? So then we kind of put our campaign thoughts into two ways, looking at creators to relabel content to everything that is diversified towards the metro audience and a lot of LinkedIn audience essentially, right? And then a lot of it that we were doing for Bharat, right? And I think the success of the show, and then finally people actually asking questions like cap table or investments and things like that, showed that, you know, how far it went. And we were very happy that this launch campaign kind of became a part of how the show went to the people.
Okay, and I think Bharat is growing much faster than.
Absolutely. I think numbers on Bharat are crazy. Yeah? It's just very easy as a marketer sitting in a metro to just look at Bombay or a Delhi or a Bangalore essentially as the market. But I think reality is very, very different, and
True.
we only will have to learn and wake up and kind of address it.
So tell us about your collaboration with global sensation Khabila for your Dream 11 campaign, and how did it come about, and what do you think kind of resonated with the social media users?
Interesting. So I think that's one of my favorite campaigns.
How did it come along? After a lot of sleepless nights, it came along. But yeah,
it was crazy. In fact, so the toughest part was he doesn't speak English. In those days, he didn't speak English. Now, of course, he does.
Never seen him speaking.
People have not seen him speaking. But yeah, when we spoke to him, when we spoke to his team, right, very limited set of people in his team could speak English, right? But you know, there are very few times, right, in a marketer's life when you would work with a celebrity or an influencer, and his any reel or any content ever done could become an ad of that brand. Think of it. So what I mean by that is, think of any reel or any content curated by a Khabila, right? Khabila mein. Every single content piece could be an ad of Dream 11, because those days the tagline of Dream 11 was "Dimag lagana hai to Dream 11 pe laga." Right? So if you want to apply your brains, better apply it on the app. Right? So now if you go back to any content piece of that creator, it could be an ad. Right? So it was a natural marriage. Right? And you know, as a marketer, we were so happy that the brand also accepted the idea of, and brand also bought into it, and you know, brand also had the right vision to help us execute it, right? And when we were doing the campaign, when we spoke about the campaign, it was a great laugh. Even he loved the way it was planned. We worked out of his Italian team, worked with his Italian team there, there's of course a lot of couriers being exchanged across both the offices, and finally, you know, after almost 30 days or 35 days of efforts, we could see the first video, and we're like, wow, what the
It was a series of.
एक ही बनाया था.
Okay.
It's very expensive. तो एक बनाया, but that one video went so viral that the whole community, the whole ecosystem was speaking about it. So it was a pleasant surprise, right?
And it
So-
was also first ever time Thabi kind of did anything with
Yeah.
any Indian brand,
Indian
right?
brand.
So it was never done before. He's done brands like Ferrari and Boss
Yeah.
and a lot of others, but never worked with any Indian brand, right? So I think
It's
when
really big.
yeah,
Oh,
I mean when it
absolutely.
came out, I think it did the job
And
because
I think it broke all records. All
Yeah,
records of virality. All.
I think our brief was also, can you catch the attention of whole Indian internet ecosystem?
Okay.
When that came out, I think we were able to do that. So it was a huge victory actually, essentially. You look at it.
Yeah.
And the fact is that if you go back and see that what Shrenik mentioned about our philosophy, it is actually one of the biggest examples of saying hack subcultures, right? You know there is a subculture, you know that you have a brand, can you find the moment and how to hack it? I think that's what it was an example of.